All right, before we get to y'all on football, this awful fucking weekend of football.
Excuse you.
We need to address Ed here.
What I do now?
My wife and I were driving back from South Florida today, and we were listening to last podcast on the left, which did a 2-part series on the Boston Molasses disaster.
Go on.
And you need to explain your people here. And by your people, I don't mean Bostonians, I mean the Irish.
Well, I mean, one, that was in the North End, so you have the wrong stereotype.
No. The molasses tank was run by the Irish, and then y'all tried to blame it on the Italians.
That's not how we learn it?
Yeah, I'll bet.
Actually, it totally is. Look, molasses is a very important thing in the early 20th century. Refined cane sugar wasn't a thing. These people were taking substantial risks for the rest of you. And that really didn't go well.
You guys tried to blame it on these anarchists?
Oh, that's right. They did, didn't they?
Yes. And you're like poor Giuseppe there in the North End, who's got 27 kids, half of whom drowned in this disaster. And y'all tried to blame it on the Italians, when really it was the shiftless and dissolute Irish.
I mean, you are not wrong about the shiftlessness or the dissolution.
So you're saying this wasn't Saccharin and Vanzetti?
No, it was not. It was Mickey and Sully O'Sullivan, who didn't bother to order steel with the correct width.
Or any width,
It's
really,
disgraceful. Right? Yeah, really. It's like paper.
Yes, I mean, so the funny thing, well, not funny, I mean, tragic, but also funny thing about it is that just like, people thought it was a train until, it partied through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, right? Eyewitnesses were like, is that the elevated? And then, no, it's going through your wall.
Was the molasses hot or was it room temperature? Because I feel like that's a distinguishing thing here.
I assume it was January, so probably not that hot.
Yeah, okay.
Like the tank wasn't heated.
Okay.
It probably would have gone faster if it was.
That makes it worse, right? Like from a ways to die perspective, that makes it worse.
I don't know.
I mean, neither is good.
Yeah. Certainly in terms of like lower, less than lethal injuries, you want it cooler.
I feel like we're going to get into, Pacific Coast versus Gulf versus Atlantic Coast temperature debate again if we do this.
It's weird because like my understanding is the reason it happened was because it was winter, so it might be kind of a moot point because like thermal expansion, it popped the rivets in the tank. I'm not actually sure it was the steel. I thought it was the rivets that like went like the tank just split open like an egg and whoosh. But like 50 feet tall tanks of molasses are 50 feet tall tanks of anything are dangerous. It just happens in this case to have been delicious.
Is molasses delicious?
I think molasses is pretty good. This was for making ethanol though, so maybe less delicious.
Yeah, this was like the third-rate molasses that they used to make gunpowder and shit. What is it? Black something?
Blackstrap. Yeah.
Blackstrap. Yeah.
Yeah, people up here eat that stuff.
Ugh.
I'm not defending it, but they do.
Probably put it in their beans too, don't they?
It's never been as much of a thing, but it is a thing in like cookies. Where it does actually kind of work, but they also add, another cartload of sugar on top.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was looking for.
We don't eat the fucking second molasses up here. What are you, a fucking Brit? Only the blackstrap.
When it comes to sugar distillates, the worst ones are usually better, except that one, right? Like they had to go through the entire rebranding process for maple syrup because people were scared of grade B when that was the good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it has to be grade A dark, and it's like, no, you were all cowards.
It was kind of confusing, but it made it easier to get the dark stuff. So
that's true. And now you like have to deal with snooty frigging yuppies I mean, you do anyway. That's sort of a fact of life.
This is Normal Men, a podcast from four men who are clinging desperately to normalcy in an era when that's asking a bit too much. I'm George in Charlotte.
In D.C., I'm Proctor Malone.
In outer Florida, I'm low-tax speedrun enjoyer.
And I'm Ed in Boston. I'm sad now.
I'm not, and that's because the Duke Blue Devils are in the ACC championship game. Let's go.
You were really waiting for that one, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah.
You guys need to throw that game. You know that, right?
Paul, they got a 5-loss team in the championship game, Paul. What are we doing?
You guys, God, this fucking conference.
No, what we need to do is win it so everyone loses their minds. That's what we need to have happen.
You know what's going to happen if y'all win it, right?
Yeah, we're not going to get a bid and like JMU will.
Yeah. James Madison, it will be the final insult to this conference because James Madison has beaten like all of y'all in Virginia and North Carolina at least 3 times. And it will be the capstone or tombstone on the ACC thing. I think it's a perfect way to go out. And we should all just fold, including Florida State. We should all just fold once that happens.
Well, I'm going to go to the game, and I'm very excited about it. And yeah, it's going to be a blast. I don't really care if they win or lose. The fact that there's even a possibility that a 5-loss ACC champion could be crowned down the street from my house is delicious. The fact it's my alma mater has nothing to do with it.
I don't believe that at all.
I'm still holding out, man. Like, okay, so we're not bowl eligible. We're 5-7. But Bama is going to be in the playoff because they're not going to leave Bama out, as we all know. So if Bama wins the whole thing, we're hanging that banner. I'm going to make sure of it.
Transitive victory. I like it.
Yeah, no.
That's right.
No.
That is a transitive national championship right there.
No.
See, Washington State University already celebrated the conference championship, and I got to tell you, it feels pretty good.
In a 2-team conference.
We are also bowl eligible, so, that also feels good.
We also need to discuss Lane Kiffin's whole deal where he's on a 1-loss SEC team going to the college football playoff and jumping ship to a different SEC team before the playoff is even done. What the hell, man? The kids these days,
they won't let him coach.
They shouldn't let him coach.
Yeah, they shouldn't let him. I mean, you mean Ole Miss now?
Yeah, Ole Miss won't let him coach.
Right, they shouldn't. But like, what's he doing taking a job when the season is? Having seen the transfer window thing happen in soccer, I am very convinced we need similar rules for football. Like how it used to be with recruiting. Now there are no rules for recruiting, so you just whatever. But like how it used to be with recruiting, same applies to coaches, everybody. During the actual competitive season, nothing happens. If you still have competitive games left, like you can't interview for another job. If you do, you get a 2-year ban or something like that. I don't care. But like, this is ridiculous.
So what's your take on non-compete clauses from the FTC?
I mean, generally bad, but this wouldn't be a non-compete clause because he's not going to coach LSU this year. It's not relevant.
No, but he's got to recruit for LSU.
He can wait 2 weeks.
Yeah. I think an enforced cooling off period is not the same thing as a non-compete. I don't think that's equivalent.
See, if it were me, I would let him coach the playoff because it's Ole Miss. How many times are you going to make the playoff?
I just like,
right.
Question is, do you have a better chance of winning games with Lane Kiffin coaching, or do you have a better chance of winning games with somebody else coaching? And the answer is somebody else.
No, I think the answer is you dance with the girl that brought you.
Okay, but she's out the door, man.
Yeah, she's gone.
Yeah, she just left with another guy.
She's in the back seat of somebody's pickup out in the parking lot right now, dude. Like that ship has sailed. Okay,
but he's going to take all the assistants with him, so you're going to have some grad assistant.
But he's not, though. He's not taking anyone with him. Basically, that's been the reporting.
No, he has said that if you don't go with him, then you don't have a spot at LSU. Those guys are all going to go. So it's going to be like Jerry, the grad assistant, from the bowels of Ole Miss, calling the offense against, I don't know, Oregon or whatever.
Those grad assistants work hard, so I think we should give Jerry his shot.
I have nothing against Jerry. I love our grad assistants, our tremendous grad assistants, but I don't think you want Jerry trying to coach it up against Kirby Smart on day one.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of want to see that just to see what it would do to Kirby, because Kirby blowing up is pretty entertaining.
I mean, Oxford and Ole Miss are terrible places, so I want them to just get burned to the ground.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah. Battle hymn of the Republic intensifies.
Yeah.
I think you need the equivalent of like a bankruptcy trustee to oversee the process. You need somebody who is a respected coach, who is on the bench for whatever reason, to come in and pinch hit just for the next month.
So Ed Orgeron?
Exactly.
I was going to say that's David Cutcliffe's music.
Whoever you can get, some retired guy who is going to do an adequate job, who is not looking for a job at this point, ideally, or who is looking for a job very earnestly at this point, possibly, and doesn't have one.
I love that we both went for George. I love that we both went for failed Ole Miss coaches.
He knows the terrain.
I also happen to play under David Cutcliffe, so I've got a little bit of a soft spot for the man. But the other, you could go full reality show with it and bring in the Manning brothers to helm the ship for a game.
Oh, hell yes.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, hell yeah.
They probably want money. ChatGPT is free.
I don't think Peyton and Eli need any money.
The Mannings are not the Mannings are just desperate for attention.
Yeah, exactly.
That, and they don't have computers in Oxford, Mississippi yet.
I mean, like it's gonna be a shit show no matter what, right? Because you're losing, as you pointed out, probably the bulk of your coaching staff immediately before the playoffs. So let's make it entertaining.
I do just think too, this is such a great example of there being no public virtue left in this country in any way, shape, or form. I mean, look, I know how low the bar has sank in college football, but I mean, this is just ridiculous. Like, we're on another level here.
George, we're talking college football in the South. Was there any virtue in it left at all?
Dude,
I mean, just to be clear, this is the second time that substantially this has happened with Lane Kiffin. So, like...
Yeah.
And it has really only happened with Lane Kiffin.
So he's consistent, is what you're saying.
We've been talking about this for like 5+ minutes at this point, but do we need to explain to everybody what's happening here? Because I'm sure we've got a bunch of listeners who are like,
we do.
Who is Lane Kiffin? What is going on? And so, you know what? We're not going to have Proctor explain this one. Low tax? This is your moment.
No, I want... no.
That's the correct decision.
No, because remember, Proctor is from the West Coast where Lane made his name. And Proctor is also intimately familiar with Steve Sarkisian and Pete Carroll.
Oh man,
and those are all integral to the Lane Kiffin.
I don't think we need that level of detail on this and explaining the background here.
Honestly, I think this is really an SEC story. I think that's the relevant history.
Well, I'm not an SEC fan. I'm a Florida State fan.
Oh, nobody's an SEC fan here.
Just give the 1 minute summary.
Okay. So Lane Kiffin is this shithead college football coach who was the co-offensive coordinator at Southern Cal under Pete Carroll when Pete Carroll was cheating his ass off and winning national championships in Los Angeles.
Win forever, we call that.
Yeah, had Snoop Dogg on the sidelines and stuff. And so Lane Kiffin then went to the Oakland Raiders, where decided was a little boy not fit for the NFL and left.
Many such cases.
And then he went to Tennessee. Yeah, many such cases. Then he went to Tennessee, went like 6-6, and Southern Cal decided, hey, Lane, Pete left. Could you come coach for us? And so after 1 year, Lane left for Southern Cal, and Tennessee fans literally rioted because Tennessee fans are a special breed. Lane did not do well at Southern Cal. He was rather famously fired and left on the tarmac of the airport in Los Angeles because he was such a little shit and everybody was tired of him.
Okay.
Lane then took, I think he took a year off and went to, as one does, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to grovel before Nick Saban, who took a liking to him for some reason.
Can we do a quick who is Nick Saban explainer?
Nick Saban's
I feel like that's important.
the best college football
This
coach
is going to
of
get
the
recursive at
21st
this rate.
century. Like, he won how many titles with Alabama? I think 5 national titles.
6 titles with Bama and 1 with LSU.
And just dominant.
Yeah. Nick Saban is the greatest coach in college football history. I take no joy in saying that as someone who grew up with Bobby Bowden. So Lane decides that he's going to be the offensive coordinator for Nick Saban. And they win, I don't know, it's Nick Saban, so probably like 5 championships or something with him at the helm. I think it was actually like 1 or 2.
Those numbers are almost the same thing.
Yeah, basically. So Lane does well at Alabama and learns under Nick Saban. And then he takes a job with the Florida Atlantic University Fighting Owls, my sister-in-law's alma mater.
About the same time of year, he takes that job.
Yeah.
This is important because Alabama is playing in the championship game.
Yes, Alabama was in the championship game that year, and Lane apparently pissed off Saban for some reason, wasn't paying close enough attention. I don't know what happened. There was a rumor that he slept with Saban's daughter.
Believable.
And was thrown off of campus to go and start his FAU job. Did pretty well at FAU and leveraged that up to take the Ole Miss job. Why you would leave Boca Raton for Oxford, Mississippi, I do not know. Admittedly, I am biased as someone who grew up in South Florida and as someone who loves his sister-in-law very much and didn't want to see them as a good coach. But anyway, so Lane's done very well in Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss is 11-1 this year. They could win the whole thing.
They could.
Yeah.
If everything were in order. They're a team that people probably don't want to play, but Lane decided that he was going to leverage that up to go to Baton Rouge.
Couple extra facts here. So the Florida Atlantic deal was a 10-year deal that he coached for, I believe, 2 years on. And then with Ole Miss, I didn't know this until just now, but apparently Mississippi has a state law that university employees can't have contracts over 4 years.
Right.
So one would guess that this is part of why he's leaving for LSU, is that they can offer him a longer term deal than Ole Miss can. My guess is also that the reason Mississippi has that law is probably has something to do with screwing professors over. Like they don't want to,
as one does,
they don't want to give you actual tenure or something, and that this is splash damage. Although given how important football is to Mississippi, it might be the other way around, that they were just tired of getting stuck with gigantic buyouts for coaches who turned out not to perform.
Yes, because Ole Miss is a dump with a lousy recruiting footprint that is surrounded by programs that are much better than them, and it's really, really hard to win at Ole Miss. But little Lane has done that. And so that is Lane Kiffin.
It's the magic and the majesty of college football, which if you thought crypto and AI were big scam pits, boy, howdy. You really need to be paying attention to what's going on in college football, in college football programs.
And Kiffin is also a prolific poster.
Yeah.
He does have the poster spirit. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah. Rare for a college football coach to have the poster spirit. Typically, these things are hammered out of you in a dingy film room in your third job, but not Lane. Not Lane.
Or you just lie about it like Jimbo and say you're not a poster, but everyone knows what your alt is on the warchant.com website.
That's the Pete Carroll connection right there. Pete also has the poster spirit, despite the fact I'm pretty sure he doesn't know how to type.
You can just imagine Pete Carroll hunched over typewriter or very old analog keyboard doing the one key at a time thing.
Just hunting and pecking it out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Waiting for the ding for a carriage return.
I mean,
Yeah.
Pete went to high school with Joe Biden. So, I mean,
You're
you know.
kidding.
No, I am
okay.
kidding. Yes.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I would have believed that.
He's not that far off, though.
No, he's not.
Pete's pretty old at this point.
I've got one Pete Carroll story I want to tell because I think it's kind of relevant here, but also because I just really like this story. So Pete famously hands out copies of The Inner Game of Tennis, which is a little pamphlet on the mentality of sports and how to win at tennis through mental striving, how to it's kind of a sports psychology thing. And he famously recommends that everybody read that. And there's this fantastic profile of Pete from his time at USC, during the course of which it becomes clear that Pete has maybe not read The Inner Game of Tennis. This is like a 70-page book, so we're not talking about a lot here. But it is a very Pete Carroll thing to persuade literally everyone in his life that this book contains the secrets of sports psychology. It will make you a better athlete. It will teach you to win. It will teach you to win forever without ever having read the damn thing.
That is such a college football coach move. Like, it's very Pete Carroll, but it's just also quintessential. They are the most immaculate bullshit merchants imaginable.
I mean,
It's just complete fugazi all day, every day.
I mean, Pete's shit works. Like, I don't understand it fully. I'm a Seahawks fan. I love the man. Always will love the man. But there's something there that's not fake, but there's a lot of fake stuff around it.
Fake it till you make it is actually a thing in competitive environments. It's the same way in financial markets. Like, if you can actually pull this off, faking it till you make it. It's hard to execute, and much more people blow up before they get to the make it part, but it's doable, man. It's been done. So, yeah, hats off Pete Carroll for that particular wazzy-woozy fairy dust.
All right, moving.
He's such a fucking asshole.
All right, enough of that. Football off the list.
Moving
Thank
directly
God.
from Pete Carroll fairy dust to oil prices. We were going to talk about oil because we think it's important. I know this is why you guys listen to this podcast, is you want to hear us talk about commodity pricing. I'm optimistic that this will be interesting to someone.
Unless this involves taking receipt of 20 million barrels of oil, I am uninterested.
Actually, no, you really don't want to take receipt of 20 million barrels of oil.
Oh.
That is a whole headache. Like,
No, but I want someone to, and I want to watch.
Yeah. I don't, because that's how we get another Boston flood.
Look, you just need to apply the oil flood to the right people.
Yeah, I think you guys have proven yourselves unworthy of taking that much of any kind of liquid.
Why would it be here? I just think the new White House ballroom is a perfect place to store it.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you try and store 20 million barrels of oil anywhere near the White House, it's going to stretch from like it's going to cover the whole mall. That's
Perfect.
for sure.
There was some talk about how they were going to glow up the reflecting pool, so maybe that's the mechanism. I don't know.
Ooh. Like the pool that the Baron Harkonnen swims in Dune. I mean, Donald Trump doing backstrokes in the reflecting pool full of crude oil.
We're just going straight to the post-apocalyptic burn whatever you've got in the barrels stage of this whole thing.
Well, that's actually a good segue, because that burn what you got in the barrels is kind of what certain players in the oil market are doing right now. So if you don't follow oil prices closely, and really you shouldn't, because it'll drive you completely insane. Oil is pretty cheap right now. I mean, WTI trades about $59 a barrel. Brent's a few dollars ahead of that, so low 60s. Gasoline prices in the mid 2s average, or high mid 2s average nationwide. And that's pretty cheap. And especially given how big inflation has been over the past 5 years, in real terms, oil prices are pretty cheap right now. And this is interesting, just as a quick tangent, because typically consumer confidence is very correlated inversely to gas prices. If gas prices are low, consumers are happy. And if gas prices are high, consumers are unhappy. That is obviously not the case right now. Very, very weak consumer confidence, despite the fact that oil prices are low. Not really related to our conversation, which is more on the supply side, but nonetheless interesting. So the thing that's interesting right now is that we've had this technological revolution in crude oil production in the United States. That started in the late 2000s, really got underway in the early 2010s and hit its absolute zenith in like 2014. That technological revolution was what's called tight oil or shale oil. It's sending enormous amounts of water and sand and other chemicals into rock formations that creates a whole bunch of little tiny pressure cracks that then leach oil, which is then extracted. And it's allowed the United States to break a never before broken trajectory for crude production, where we peaked earlier, peak crude oil production in the U.S. prior to tight oil was the 1990s, I think, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. And then we have blown through that and are now the world's largest producer of oil because we have this fancy technology and some lucky geology. So that created a huge... After the global financial crisis, oil prices were really high because emerging market demand had grown a bunch. We hadn't had a lot of new supply added in the 2000s and 2010s. And then this new technological development comes along, and that creates some issues. So OPEC starts hiking output to basically try and force U.S. drillers out of the market, and oil prices crashed in 2016. You're muted. You're muted.
You're still muted.
You're still muted. Look on his face right
You guys are going to leave this in. All
right. Yeah.
OPEC is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. So
yes.
They are the international cartel that is responsible. It's about 40% of global oil production comes out of them. Is that?
It's a bit more than that, I think.
I don't like calling them a cartel like that, Proctor. These are all very upstanding countries involved in this process.
Your Russias, your Saudi Arabias.
That's right.
Yeah, really upstanding people for sure. So anyhow, 2014, oil was like $100 a barrel. 2016, we traded down into the 20s at one point and then bottomed out. And basically what happened is a bunch of shale production got shut in, and OPEC took their foot off the brakes. Basically, they didn't increase production as much as they had said they would, and I think they actually ended up cutting production a bit. And then shale just came roaring right back. And in market terminology, that shale was the marginal producer. So basically, wherever shale's cost break even was is where the price was going to set. So that continues in the 2010s, and we have medium oil prices basically up until COVID. And then things go completely crazy because we had not only the huge swings in inflation, both in the supply and demand side, but also we had Russia invade Ukraine, and that sent a whole bunch of oil markets. We think of oil as being this really fungible thing, but it's not really. I mean, it's sort of fungible, but there are all these geographic and specific grade dependencies that drive a lot of the economics of the energy industry, of the liquid petroleum business. And when you take out a large producer and force them to do some funky rewiring of where their stuff is going, it really messes with the market. So oil prices surged again. U.S. producers basically didn't ramp up that production that much, sat on massive, massive cash flows and just basically returned it to investors and said, we don't have a good thing to do with this. And so then we sort of, oil prices have dropped over the past 3 years now straight, pretty much. And we're back down to low oil prices, and OPEC is raising production and trying to push shale for once and for all out of the market, is what it looks like is going on. There are other explanations for this as well, such as.
Right. So one of the core dynamics here is if oil gets too expensive, then shale production comes online. And once shale production is online, you keep running it. Like the cost to set it up is a significant fraction of the cost to operate it. So there's kind of a pre-commitment thing there where you don't do the drilling unless you think you're going to get enough money back out of selling the oil to justify it. But once you've drilled, you've tapped into an ongoing source of oil that is going to keep producing at a marginal cost that is lower than your total cost.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
I should just, yeah, no, that's right. One thing I'll say is that's true of all oil extraction, right? No matter whether you're drilling a conventional well, whether you're drilling offshore, whether you're drilling tight oil, it's all the CapEx is up front, and then the operating cost is extremely low. We'll differentiate between the break-even cost, which refers to where is oil today and how much is it going to cost me to produce, to get a barrel out of the ground when I don't have a well yet, and the operating cost, which is basically I have a well, how much do I have to pay to keep it going? And the former is a very small fraction of the latter the latter is a very small fraction of the former in virtually all cases that matter. What makes shale unique is that it is very short time cycle. So I can ramp up production and ramp down production very, very quickly in aggregate because shale wells are very quick to drill and have very high productivity, and the amount of oil that a given well produces is very, very strong for a very short amount of time, and then it trails off kind of in a decline curve. So basically the way to think about this is instead of making an investment with a 15-year time horizon, I'm making an investment with a 2-year time horizon. So shale is very reactive to price, and that's why it became the marginal price setter. Now, there are still dynamics where if your break even is roughly around $50 industry-wide average, give or take, some higher, some lower, if you dip down into the 40s, that you'll stop drilling, but you're still going to have a lot of oil being produced from what you've just drilled recently. So there is still, but it has shortened the time cycle, the market reaction, and the flows of crude relative to where you were before, where imagine drilling like the Deepwater Horizon or whatever. That is a multi-year massive project. Whereas if you just go out into the Permian, you can be drilling and producing well in weeks. It's really fast time cycle. Yeah, but otherwise, correct. Once when prices drop, you're still producing out of your wells you've already drilled in shale or any other form of it.
Right. So you've got American shale acting as kind of vigilantes in this situation. If the oil price gets too high, they're going to come in and they're going to increase supply. That's going to drive oil price back down, but it's going to do it by increasing supply in not the OPEC countries. So OPEC doesn't want that. OPEC ideally wants to be producing as many barrels as possible at the highest cost that they can maintain oil at. They're selling the oil, so what they're optimizing on is with a few extra little wrinkles around the edges. What they're optimizing on is what their oil production is worth. Is that fair? I mean, obviously there's resources that are being drawn down there over time. But the whole point of having the cartel is that they want to keep prices relatively high, and they want to do that by keeping supply relatively restricted.
Yeah, and they also want relative price stability, and they want, the way you maximize revenue as a cartel is you target a given market share and go from there, and that's what they're doing. It's hard to do that when there is a much more efficient producer, basically oil, that is much more price reactive because they can get all the windfall profits and they can pull back production faster than you can. Now, the wrinkles that Proctor referred to are very real. So I think it's really easy to forget, given how bad the current administration's climate policy is, which basically is anti-climate policy as such as exists. It's unbelievable. But yeah, so it's easy to forget, given all those headlines, that global carbon energy is in the process of peaking. Chinese oil demand is likely peaked. U.S. oil demand, the U.S. energy sector's carbon emissions peaked like 20 years ago and are only going to drop from here. The actual crude consumed in, for instance, American engines and cars, 5 years ago now. It hasn't returned to pre-COVID levels. EV market share is surging globally, and not just in places like China or Europe that subsidize it quite heavily, but in places like Nepal or a bunch of African markets or South American markets. To say nothing of the US, where basically half of Cadillac sales at this point are EVs. We'll see how the end of the tax credits go for them, et cetera, et cetera. But
those are really nice, by the way. My brother-in-law,
you got to drive one, right?
I got to drive my brother-in-law's Cadillac Optique. The 1 foot driving is weird as hell. But oh yeah, those are nice cars.
Mm-hmm. You get used to them about a week. I mean, Mercedes just announced a sub 50K CLA model, 100% EV, nearly 400-mile range, 0 to 100-mile charging in 8 minutes, I think. I mean, assuming you can find a charger with high enough voltage, high voltage architecture, insane interior. Like, I think they have a total diagonal screen between the passenger, central, and driver side. I think like almost 4 feet of screen.
That's terrible.
Well, I mean, I know people don't like this. There are some people that don't like the screen thing, but like it's a signal of value to a certain auto consumer. Anyhow, all this for under 50K, which, I mean, yeah, Tesla's toast. Anyhow, there's massive uptake in EVs, and it's only going to accelerate because EVs are better. They're just better. Solar energy and battery storage is going to be significantly cheaper than fossil energy. You still need some base load, but a lot less over time. I mean, it's a one-way train. So OPEC is then left with this problem where they have billions and billions of barrels of oil in the ground that are worth $60 today, but 20 years from now are probably worth a lot less on a per barrel basis, right? Because they're not going to be as useful for a lot of key sectors. We're going to need petroleum for a very long time, for certain petrochemicals, for certain processes where you could hypothetically mash together a bunch of hydrogen and carbon and, generate synthetic molecules, but likely going to be too expensive to do at big scale for a long time to come. So we will need oil, but we will not likely be needing 105 million barrels per day of oil in the relatively near future, and it's a declining market from there. So there is a time value to this stuff. And I think lately OPEC has been raising production despite oil prices being quite low. They know they can't squeeze out shale. They've already tried to do that and it didn't work. So what else are they trying to do other than monetize this asset that is rapidly depreciating? There is a third explanation. I don't know if we want to spend too much more time on this, but there is a third one I can speculate on.
I would like to hear that.
Purely a solid to Trump.
Yeah, I mean,
like literally Mohammed bin Salman, the guy running Saudi Arabia at this point, one of the worst people in the world. Like, just like so bad, like just the worst. I think there is a non-trivial possibility. This isn't really my baseline view, but I am forced to admit it fits the facts that they are just saying we want gas prices low because we want the American consumer to be happy for Trump. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, ain't working, but it should have on paper.
And this would, a significant supporting piece of evidence for this is why Trump officials keep citing this. They keep going on TV and saying that we've got $2 gas, which we don't have unless you look at like this one bizarre metric that's a market metric, but it's not like a at the pump market metric.
Gasoline has a 2 handle. I will give them that. And that really should be benefiting consumer confidence. It isn't though, because people, it's just that anyhow.
That, and even if you have a gas car at this point, you've probably got a car that's got a turbo in it, and you're probably supposed to be buying premium gas.
They're not,
which is not $2 a gallon. I can tell you.
Who is buying premium gas?
Are we hearing from the premium gas Jeep ownership over here?
Yes, we are.
What do you pay for gas at the pump? Low tax.
I think it's like $3.50.
Oh,
good Lord! What are you putting 108 octane in that thing?
Look, Jeeps are temperamental vehicles. They have never been allowed to go off road. They have never been in high stress situations. No,
I have my little badges of honor from
the
Jeep
ducks.
No, not the frickin' ducks.
Not that widow duckies.
God, that is the best argument for invading Canada. You know that? No,
Okay.
they give you these little merit badges if you go off-roading in them.
Oh.
As a little treat for the soccer moms and stuff. So I have a whole bunch of those on mine.
I will say that, like, I really can't wait until the day that Saudi Arabia is limited to being big polyethylene, because, like,
Hell yeah.
They have been literally perverting politics for over my lifetime, and I would just like this to stop.
Not just politics, international soccer as well. It's so much worse than what you
I
said.
don't care about soccer. I'm more pissed at them about their frigging entree into my backyard.
I'm with Ed on that. You can pervert those stupid English soccer teams all you like. I don't care about that. I want to see the day when everything goes to shit in that awful fake country and they just behead that whole awful family.
There's a lot of them too. I mean, if you're going to behead that whole family, you got some work to do.
Tens of thousands of them. They do not stop fucking over there. It's deranged.
The thing. So I wasn't joking, because for the listeners who have not heard this, I used to, for my sins, be a Twitch streamer, and a very large reason of why I stopped is because, and I promise you, all of these words are true in this order,
but not in the Bible.
No, very few of these are going to be the Bible. I stopped after many of the people I knew and collaborated with were paid by the Saudi royal family to go commentate fighting game events in Riyadh, and they went while having pride flags and ally stickers in their Twitter bios. So I threw up my hands and left.
Public virtue caucus, man.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's... And so I'm over here like, I have specific members of that family I want to see go first, is what I'm saying.
If you're wondering why it seems like things that reactionary bros are into have had a little extra lift over the past decades, the answer is usually that there is a Saudi princeling who is into it specifically.
Very frequently. Like, there are tons of free-to-play gacha video games that are basically floating off of like $100,000 a month from a Saudi prince. It's ridiculous.
That's not fair. Some of them are in the UAE as well.
Okay, so we have a number of international players in the oil game here, and they want different things in terms of where they want oil price levels to be. So let's talk through that very briefly, and I promise we're going somewhere that's back to U.S. politics with this eventually. What does Russia want right now in terms of oil prices?
Highest oil prices possible.
And also, they would love to be able to sell to people who aren't China.
Yeah, well, and just to be able to sell their oil at all without getting their tankers blown up, which has happened 3 times now. But yes.
We would like to sell oil. You come here on big plane, sell oil.
We don't have big boat anymore. We had big boat, Ukrainian take boat.
Follow the Moskva, as the song goes. So we've got Russia, who just wants oil prices to be as high as possible. And Russia is cash strapped right now. They need money, and they need it quickly.
I can't imagine why.
That honestly, $60 a barrel is a problem for them already. They need it to be higher than that. And if it goes much lower, they're pretty screwed, sanctions or no sanctions. However,
I should just mention before we move on from Russia, they are party to they're part of what's called OPEC Plus. They are not in actual OPEC, but they do have a say at the table in terms of how that cartel sets production. So OPEC doesn't set prices, they set production.
Letting them make a premium tier was a fucking mistake.
All right, player number 2, America. What do we want in terms of oil prices?
Well, it depends who you ask, right? The Trump administration wants oil prices low because car juice, cheap, good. they also represent pretty directly an industry that wants oil prices probably around $90 a barrel, like maybe $80 to $90 a barrel. I will say, like the energy industry in the United States does not want $150 a barrel oil, because they know as well as everybody else that would crash demand, either through substitution to electric vehicles, etc., or just create a recession. And they're not complete idiots. So they are idiots, just not complete idiots. So they don't want like $150 a barrel oil, whereas Russia would love that. What they want is high enough prices that they can make a really strong margin on a roughly $50 break-even barrel drilling cost without driving a huge global scramble to expand supply and introduce new competition and reduce demand. So they want, below 100, above 80, something like that.
Right.
Those are the people who know what they're talking about, though, and know what they're doing and work in that industry. Whereas Trump, remember, Trump has not digested a new piece of information since about 1994. And all he knows is that cheap car juice, good.
Yeah. I mean, the U.S. position is kind of unique in this because we are now a net oil exporter, but we also use a ton of oil, which is not true of the other big oil states. I mean,
correct. We are both the world's largest consumer and the world's largest producer. It's goofy, and yet we're still a net exporter. It's goofy.
We got both sides of the market here. ASA, what does Saudi Arabia want?
They want shale gone, basically, and they want prices higher than they are today, but anything like Russia. And they frankly, I don't think their break-evens are substantially lower than shale's. Like their break-evens are, I haven't looked lately. It's like 20. It's something like that. It's right. Cheap, right? I should say there are other countries in OPEC beyond, say, so it's not just the Saudis' call. They're kind of the biggest deal, but other countries in OPEC want prices higher than they currently are, but also don't want to compete with U.S. shale. So they're willing to drive prices lower if it means they don't have to compete with U.S. shale as much.
China, not a big producer, but they consume a lot. What do they want?
Not clear. So in the long run, China's political strategy or geopolitical strategy is to get off of oil entirely. This is very obvious from just about everything they've done for the past 15 years, right? Like everything from their industrial strategy to their foreign policy to, what they want. They know that if they are consuming as much oil as they do, and I think they're the number 2 consumer after the US, and they don't produce substantially anything domestically. I mean, they do have some domestic production, but it's tiny. They know it's very easy for the U.S. Navy or some other hostile party to cut that particular carotid very, very quickly somewhere west of China. And suddenly, oops, we don't have any oil. So they are trying to diversify supply via Russia, construction of new pipelines from Russia. They are trying to press domestic consumption of oil through mostly EV strategy, but other stuff as well. And as for price, I think they're kind of ambivalent at this point. They're very much a price taker and playing a longer game than where is oil trading right now.
And also they're being subsidized effectively by the war in Ukraine because they are the people who are buying Russian oil.
Them and India.
Them and India.
It's not, yeah. India wants, for the record, since we mentioned them, India wants prices lower. China, yeah. They are subsidizing, but there's just a lot going on. Like right. China's complicated. They have huge inventories, for instance, like massive inventories of crude relative to what they need in terms of average. And they also have a really big domestic refining industry. They do export a ton of petrochemicals. So it's much more complicated than I think anyone other than the US. They are a net consumer, but they're much less worried about the price than I think the long-term risk of relying on imported oil.
Okay, so currently the big single event that could happen right now, and we've been kind of teasing around the edges of it here, is the end of the war in Ukraine and therefore the end of sanctions on Russia.
Well, it's actually on the margin raises costs for India and China, because now instead of paying for some portion of their crude imports at subsidized or at suppressed prices, basically to Russia, you now pay the spot price, the global marginal price.
And that's going to hit India really, really hard, as I understand it. Like, they have a massive internal like refinery industry themselves.
I mean,
but they don't extract much.
I haven't looked recently at what their import share from Russia is, but we're talking at the margin here. I don't think it'll hit them that hard. I mean, it'll certainly have an impact, but I don't think it'll hit them that hard. Same for China. It'll have an impact, but it's not like going from 10 to 100. It's like going from 50 to 70. Like,
gotcha.
So for the US, it's not, I mean, we never really had much, there wasn't much Russian crude making its way into the US to begin with. Our crude comes from the Western Hemisphere, and not our domestically produced crude. This is something that a lot of people don't really know about US crude. The crude that we pump in the US isn't really suited for most US refineries. And the reason for that is that the crude that, as I mentioned earlier, there are different grades of crude. So you have lighter gravity, basically less dense crude, and higher gravity, basically denser crude. Higher gravity crude the crude that we produce out of shale is what's called light sweet. So sweet means low sulfur content, and it's low gravity. The crude that U.S. refineries were built to run off of was higher gravity and more sour, had higher sulfur content. You can change that over time, but it's expensive. And basically refineries are optimized to a certain grade of crude. So we actually import, for our refinery industry, a huge amount of crude from Latin America, Mexico, Venezuela for a while. I mean, like, Venezuela was a big source of U.S. crude, and Alberta produces a lot of heavy crude in their tar sands, which is, if you've never looked up tar sands before, do some Googling. Insane process. It's wild they can make any money doing it, but they do. The U.S. crude industry having Russian oil come back online doesn't really, both crude and refining, it doesn't really impact as much because of some of those idiosyncrasies.
I'm just imagining Trump now getting mad about Mexico sending us heavy sour crude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. The people that it really impacts is Europe. It makes Europe's oil prices and refined product prices a lot cheaper. And the way it impacts our domestic scene is it probably reduces the price of diesel relative to everyone else. And the reason for that is that Russia has a ton of middle distillate capacity. That's diesel, diesel/heating oil. And if that is fungible from Europe to the US, whereas the crude is less so is the grade stuff. So basically you would expect diesel prices to get cheaper at the margin relative to gasoline or crude. So, yeah.
And it's also going to be, bad for KSA, who has been benefiting from from the suppression of Russian oil exports.
Yeah. So, and all the other middle producers. Yeah.
Right. So how does this play into the other major geopolitical oil affecting event that we may be watching unfold right now, which is that we may be about to invade Venezuela? Venezuela is also an OPEC member. They are, I believe, 5th on the OPEC leaderboard in terms of production.
Yeah, but declining every year. They have huge, enormous reserves of crude, but have run them. Their fields are terribly run, really badly underinvested. Basically, if you start pumping crude out of a well, you need to keep spending money to keep that well operating over time. And Venezuela substantially hasn't. So, and has lost a lot of expertise and a lot of ability to do so. Their runs the oil industry there, PDVSA. They used to be like a very well-respected oil producer globally, and now are basically a couple guys operating in the back of a garage.
They do have the best dictator with an 80s cop mustache, though.
True.
These are the important things.
True. But again, the thing is, like, Venezuelan crude is heavier and more sour. So that is good stuff for U.S. refineries. But at the same time, like, the Trump administration's stuff around Venezuela is just like nobody in the U.S. energy industry actually thinks it's a good idea to invade Venezuela to get your hands on Venezuelan crude. Like, that's not an actual thing anyone thinks.
In short term, it would definitely spike oil prices. Like medium to long term, more ambiguous, but short term, it is going to disrupt this web that is built around how oil is pumped and where it's shipped, and it's going to exert upward pressure, at least over the course of the next year or two rest of Trump's presidency. Is that fair to say? Maybe tailing by the end?
That would be the assumption you would make. Yeah, all else equal. All else is never equal, but you have to start somewhere. So yeah, I mean, if we start hitting targets at scale inside Venezuela, their production's only going one way, and that's down a lot faster than it's already dropped. And I who knows what happens to the rest of the Western Hemisphere in that scenario? Like how? I mean, I think if we just start bombing Venezuela, I think you run out of room pretty quickly on using past behavior to predict future, or other countries in the region, saying that means XYZ thing will happen. But I mean, who knows, man? So, I mean, even just closing their airspace and hitting some of their civilian shipping, I mean, that alone generates chaos for commodity markets, which really need smooth functioning international trade to function the way they have, in recent decades, which is very efficiently. So yeah, not good in that respect.
Do we think they're actually going to do this though?
I don't, but I've been wrong before. Usually am, in fact.
I think the events of the last week or so probably make it less likely that they do, because it seems like they're all shitting themselves.
Who is the constituency for this? This is what I just don't understand. Like
Donald Trump.
See,
no,
I mean,
but even then, I think
the constituency is KSA.
That could be.
I think that's who wants us right now to go in and take Venezuela's production off the table in the short term, spiking prices. That it's the same deal as why we might want to, for instance, go bomb Iran or go bomb Nigeria, who's another OPEC member, who we have bizarrely threatened to go bomb under Trump. Like,
well, that's right.
There's this whole
completely forgotten that one.
There's this whole set of OPEC members that we are going around threatening, and my naive assumption is that some of this is market manipulation, right? Like,
this is the worst conspiracy theory, I believe.
I mean, the quid pro quo here could just be that OPEC raises prices, keeps gas prices low, and that helps popularity in the U.S. And so, okay, we go and rattle the saber at whoever else you don't want this to happen to. I'm skeptical of this for a few different reasons, but can't really reject it out of hand. It's
canon now. The horse is out of the barn. This is canon now.
Yeah, it's canon now. Look, I mean, it's all corruption, right? It's the Trump guys are all in for billions with KSA.
I will note, in the example of Iran, we did one strike and that was it. You'll notice that's been not something anyone's talked about for 6 months now. And in the case of Nigeria, we also didn't go anywhere with that, thankfully.
Yeah.
Insane to think that we would anyways. But so I'm a little skeptical. The other thing is, too, if the goal is to raise oil prices through saber rattling, whether it's Iran, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's Venezuela, it hasn't
Russia
worked.
I mean, Russia's the other one, right? Like that's the other one where we have a war going on that is having a direct effect on oil prices.
Yeah, for sure. And it hasn't worked, right? Like we're below $60 WTI. There's no geopolitical risk premium to speak of in there. I mean, there's some, but it's very small.
Look, maybe Trump is just a really big believer in NEOM and wants to be in on that development project.
Yeah, they finally figured out that one wasn't going to work, huh? NEOM is the linear city that Saudi Arabia was trying to build. I believe it's MBS's brainchild, personally.
The small brain with a small child.
I never really understood why they were trying to build a city that is all in a line. Like, the idea was that this was a miles long city that was like 2 blocks wide.
Because MBS is 12 years old. That's why.
Everybody's 12.
In fairness, it did look sick.
It
and
looked
that's the
very
only
cool.
fairness I'm going to give.
Look, who would not want to live in a weirdly compressed Scottsdale that may or may not have a train line and where you can't drink or have sex?
I'd love to hear a Florida man coming downhill with a head of steam, man. That's
Air conditioner hanging out the passenger window.
That's right.
All right. This has been our oil conspiracizing for the week. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. Obviously, one of the Trump administration priorities is to try to end the war in Ukraine for some value of ending the war in Ukraine. Like I do believe they want it to be over. I don't think they want to do Ukraine any favors whatsoever.
They're tired of seeing on the TV.
Yeah. And, you got to justify that FIFA Peace Prize that Trump's going to get in a couple of months. But the other moves they're making, particularly out of the Department of Defense, are aligned with oil being a significant interest in a time when it doesn't seem like oil is as interesting as it used to be.
I do wonder how much the events of the last week, the whistleblowing that has come out, is going to pop their tires on this stuff. Because
should we talk about that a little bit?
Probably should, seeing as how I don't think it's, every day when you find out the Secretary of Defense literally ordered doing the thing that is in the law of war manual as the clearly illegal order.
Right. So the background here is that after the first set, I believe this was the first set of boat strikes that this happened on, that we have direct evidence on in the Caribbean against what the Trump administration claims were drug traffickers. We'll leave that question aside for the moment. After the first set of missile strikes, there were a couple guys floating in the wreckage, hanging on to pieces of boat, and somebody, probably Pete Hegseth, that's what the reporting says, gave the order to shoot more missiles at the guys hanging onto the wreckage to kill them. And that is frowned upon under the laws of war. Even if you accept every other assumption Trump administration wants you to accept, even if you say, okay, this is a legitimate war, these are legitimate combatants.
None of which is true, by the way. All of it is the other way around. But I had to say it. But
right. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you that all of this is bullshit. This was murder from the jump. These were born crimes. None of these other assumptions are good. But even if you spot every other assumption to the Trump administration, the second set of missile strikes is a war crime.
We shot people after World War II for this.
Yes, we literally shot Nazis. Frankly, the Nazis had a much better case. Like,
it's true.
The Nazi argument was, well, we had to kill the survivors from the boat that our submarine sank, because otherwise it would have given away our position and the Allies would have been able to find our submarine and kill us. That's a better argument for necessity than
Pete Hegseth eating ice cream.
Right.
Ice cream, please, sir. It was gin. Not even cold, like just room temperature. Out of a Camelback.
Well, gin ice cream, though.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how cold you have to get gin to freeze it?
I'll ask
I
my
don't
guy.
actually.
It's you can't do that without special equipment. I've tried.
For real though, like, I wasn't joking earlier. It is literally in the Department of Defense's Law of War Manual, right? Like, for example, orders to fire upon the shipwrecked would be clearly illegal.
Right. This is not a close case in any way.
And for what little it's worth, it seems like this plus Trump very clearly beginning/continuing the long exit seems to have shaken some of them loose, at least for the armed services committees.
I just want to say just my view on this. When this all kicked off in the Caribbean, I said this. I just want to say it again because I think it's a pretty important thing to say. Every person that had a role in that missile landing on that boat should absolutely face criminal consequences for them.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't care if they're inside the military, outside the military. I don't care what the punishment is, extreme or not. I don't care what it does to their career. Every single person, from an enlisted person up to the Secretary of Defense, every single one needs to answer for this crime.
Yep.
Top to bottom, anybody who knew, anybody who was even vaguely aware in the Pentagon, I don't care. All of them.
Yeah. Clean
Anybody
house.
in the chain of command, they're all complicit in a war crime.
Yep.
And we have, in fact, had resignations that sure seem to be over approximately this. At least the timing is such that...
And they should be talking.
Well, I mean, it's not clear who they're talking to and what they're saying, but
Yeah, I think give it time is the right response there for sure.
No, that's true.
I'm not saying there's no criminal liability there, but what I'm saying is that there's lots of things that we don't yet know about who did what and when they did what. Anyway,
Congress at least appears to be waking up to the fact that it is a branch of government on this particular issue, which is remarkable that something raised them out of the slumber they've occupied for the past couple.
And I do
quarters.
enjoy, as small as it is, that they keep calling it the Department of Defense.
Yes.
yeah, that's a good sign.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, that's the stuff, guys.
And it's not just Republican congressmen. We've seen Trump also maybe start to underbus Secretary Hegseth or Hegseth as people are wittily referring him to.
I hate that that's a verb now.
But
Why is underbus a verb now?
I'm open to alternatives.
No, it's correct. I'm just, why is this timeline?
So Trump has started to say things like, well, I didn't give the order to double tap these guys. And
If I hear that, if I'm Hegseth and I hear Trump go, I didn't give the order, I'm going, oh no,
yeah,
that's it. You're toast, man.
Pete, do you have anybody you would like to roll over on?
so there's some palace. So as with all things in the Trump administration, there's a palace intrigue story here, which is that
Nobody loves mess like Proctor likes.
Scheming viziers.
all viziers.
It is a thing that unironically the Trump administration is great with. And that was true in Trump 1. It's true in Trump 2. We love our palace viziers, don't we, folks?
Yeah, they'd be scheming.
So not to spend too much time on this, but the background on this is that Hegseth and Vance are operating in not necessarily co-aligned factions in the Trump administration right now. It's pretty clear they don't personally like each other. And also the likely replacement for Hegseth is a Vance guy. So to some extent, you can read what Republicans in Congress are doing right now as being supporting a Vance play instead of as undermining a Trump play. But I think that there's a growing consensus, and these things can move very, very quickly once they start to move. I think there's a growing consensus that Hegseth has got to go.
You really know how to ruin my day, Proctor. Let's hand JD Vance a win.
But no. Let's not get to ruined days too quickly. I will say the fact that internal coalition stuff is leading to Congress getting involved and Trump having to back off of a prior position, and the fact that it's ammo at all for one of the factions involved here is evidence that the veil of supremacy has been broken. Like these guys are not operating on the same level of impunity and same level of elite buy-in that they were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago.
Unless you talk to a university administrator, but I take your point.
Look, I mean, if there was one group of people who I would trust to not have their fingers in the wind correctly.
Yeah, be reliably 6 months behind. I agree.
Like reliably at least 6 months behind, if not 6 years behind. It's those folks.
Oh God, we got to warn them about COVID.
I mean, if they're going to turn it over to a Vance person, if these guys are going to buy in on Vance, go for it, fellas.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair.
Go for it.
Please make our day.
Y'all know I made the prediction on Blue Sky. Go ahead, boys. Keep buying in on Vance.
Yep.
I mean, the obvious reason you might want to buy in on Vance is if you think he's going to be president sooner than later.
Yeah, like 3 weeks from now.
Well, maybe we need to get Hayden back on to rehash what he did in our other episode because, yeah.
Don't take away our hope, George.
I hope he is. I mean, I don't really care either way because I think it's going to be JD in 28 and he's going to get fucking rinsed.
Inshallah.
He is going to wish we shipped his greasy, sorry beard-looking ass back to Ulster where he belongs.
It appears low tax got rear-ended this weekend by somebody who had an Irish flag on their bumper.
No, he's Scots-Irish.
Well, Irish is still in there.
Wow, are we uncorking that one on this podcast?
Say nothing.
We'll save that for the Albion Seed special episode.
When are we doing that, by the way? I got like 4 hours I got to kill next weekend. No, I'm kidding.
All right, what else do we have on the list today? We got Tennessee. We want to talk about Tennessee?
Yeah, let's talk about Tennessee.
It's either that or you were going to talk about how should Pete Carroll have retired. The answer is obviously yes.
It's not going well in Las Vegas. It's true. But in happier
You should
news,
try coaching hockey. He could probably do a good job.
there is a special election for the 7th district in Tennessee. There was a 20 district. So until a couple of weeks ago, everybody thought, okay, this is pretty much a lock for Team Republican. Everybody who was involved in this, everybody who was in a position to move their actions based on whether or not they think it's close, is reacting like this is a close race. It's close. We've only had 3 public polls total, and only one of them recent. It had the Republican at a 49-47 lead. So, if you're a data guy, the public polling says this is a close race. If you are looking at what the parties are doing, you've got Trump making robocalls in the district, Trump recording multiple robocalls in the district. That's not a thing you should have to do in a special election for a plus 20 Republican district. You should not have to bring the president into it at all. You've got Mike Johnson.
What else is he doing, though?
I mean,
I want to hear those, by the way.
we'll see. We'll see if we can get a copy.
I want to know how many takes.
You people in Central Tennessee, tremendous people.
So the normal reasons you might think of for why a special would be unexpectedly close seem to me to apply here. This is a district that I think it's Truing is probably not quite as bad as Trump plus 20. This was actually a fairly close district in recent Senate races in Tennessee.
Just for context, geographically, it's the western side of Nashville, and which obviously Nashville itself is quite blue. The suburbs of Nashville are red, but trending a lot bluer. And then it's a big swath of rural central Tennessee, west and south of Nashville. So, you've got some areas that will have very, very blue votes, and then you've got a bunch of areas that are much redder. And it's, of course, Tennessee. So it's what they've done is they've cracked Nashville to gerrymander it, and part of Nashville is in this district.
I used to work down there. Yeah, it's got some takes.
So the Republican Van Epps is not particularly awful. I think he's essentially vanilla Republican. He's got fairly good favorables in the polling we've seen. He's not. This is not a situation where they're running a child molester for Senate. It's pretty much a generic Republican. The Democratic candidate, if anything, Afton Bang, if anything, I think she's more liberal than I would have expected for a challenge like this. She's youngish, 35-ish, state legislator, came out firing pro-Palestine very, very early after October 7th. Within something like 3 weeks, she was out there with in the Tennessee legislature with pro-Palestinian statements. So this is not This is not somebody who codes as super conservative. So I think she's
Is that a big issue in Nashville and surrounding areas?
I mean,
No.
Come on. I do think it speaks to the fact that that kind of candidate selection speaks to the fact that people who are energized are the ones that are carrying the day. And that's true not just in terms of actual vote counting in a contested primary, but in terms of who in the party is making moves happen and getting stuff done and advancing themselves. It's people that are pissed off and willing to say it.
Apparently Trump was blathering on Truth Social about this, and he has his usual stuff, which we will not repeat here because it's bigoted shit. But weirdly enough, one, did not mention pro-Palestine. I would think that would be a gimme. But two, did say that the Democratic opponent, quote, openly disdains country music.
and Christianity.
Ah, yes. Well,
he's just saying that because it's Nashville. He would say that regardless of what.
Oh, I
position.
know,
She could be a signed country music artist, and he would be like, she disdains country music. Just to say it because well, Nashville's big on country music, so yeah, that she's
it's the one thing
music.
he knows about it.
Exactly.
These fucking hicks love country music down there. I'm gonna go after her on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Feed those
That's all
pigs
it
to
is.
slop.
She doesn't love our honky tonks, folk.
I gotta say, I went to Nashville for the first time last year, and not my scene. Not my
It's a
scene.
nice city to visit, but I always liked leaving.
Soccer stadium was great. Their supporters group was wonderful, but
The food is
city
decent.
itself, yeah,
Food's all right.
Food was good. Food was
Some
good.
of the best tacos I've ever eaten in my life, oddly enough, were in Nashville. But yeah, no, I know. I was shocked.
Ed is from Boston once again.
One, I'm not from Boston. I'm from Maine. But two,
better.
I was shocked because, as you all know, I have spent a substantial amount of time in states that are high on the taco index,
Right.
as well as, countries that invented them.
Taco
But,
producers, taco exporters.
Yes, net taco exporters. But
What kind of taco establishment are we talking here?
just like a food truck in
Okay.
outside of the game for the unfortunately named Nashville hockey team.
Yep.
No,
So, Are we
great.
talking fresh corn tortillas or the
Yeah.
white corn?
No,
Okay.
fresh corn tortillas. Just straight up
Okay, so it was corn tortillas.
yeah.
Then it was
they
bad.
have to be.
That
What?
was low tax speed run enjoyer. Once again, low tax speed run enjoyer.
I don't care. I'll die on this fucking hill. Flour tortillas are better than corn tortillas.
We're not getting bogged down in this. I will say the whole thing here with a Trump plus 20 district with a December election is we know that Democrats, if you're voting Democrat, you vote it all the time. You vote like it's a sport. You are voting in municipal primaries every single cycle. You are voting for the weirdest little elected positions in your county. You are voting for judges. You are donating to random state legislator races. You are that kind of person.
Yep.
If you're a Republican these days, you are showing up to vote for the president, and it's a coin flip if you ever vote any other time. And that is before you take into effect the depressive effects that you normally see with early in a presidency off-cycle elections. We saw it in 2010. We saw them to a degree in 2022. Saw them in 2018. Like it's how it goes. I honestly believe that you could flip a plus 20, an R plus 20 seat in this environment. I don't think that's like a great bet. If you do want to bet on this, by the way, I will say the market pricing on this is that the Dem has about a 15% chance to win. Make of that what you will. There is money to be made if you're convicted on this. What I will say though is that if she does end up pulling it out, it's going to be a really easy to understand story why.
It's a reach, but it's definitely not inconceivable. I wouldn't bet on it because I just don't bet on these kind of things. I don't bet on football. I don't bet on sports in general. I don't bet on politics. I do want to circle back Nashville. I will always appreciate y'all because my wife, the only time I have been to Nashville, I went up there with my wife because she was going to a veterinary conference, and we discovered that Pearl Jam was playing that night at the arena downtown. And so we hopped on whatever the stupid ticket site is and got tickets to that. Prince's sucks. But y'all gave us that. So love to Nashville always.
When Low-Tech started talking, I said to myself, this is going to be some Florida bullshit. And I was not disappointed.
Goes to Nashville for a Pearl Jam concert. When I did go to Nashville, I was in a honky tonk, and I mean, honky tonk is a loose term compared to what it actually used to be like, but whatever. In the modern equivalent of a honky tonk. And I actually requested that the guy play Woody Guthrie, and his face just about melted. It was his rendition of This Land Is Your Land was not wonderful. It was fine. He did fine.
A for effort.
Yeah.
Play the verse that's not for the tourists.
I can't remember.
No.
No, I don't think he did. I think he only made it 2 or 3 deep.
To go back to something George said earlier, insofar as this is a turnout election, George is right that, like, if you're a Democratic voter in a ruby red district like this, it's like running into a little guy with cauliflower ears out at the bar. Like,
don't, nope.
You know they like to scrap, and you know they do it a lot.
Yep.
You don't know if they're good at it, but you know they like to. So
probably not, and that's the problem.
Losing is a skill.
The weather is going to be kind of bad on Tuesday, which, since there's been a fair amount of early voting here already, which is probably helpful to the Democratic cause. I would still say don't, get too far out over your skis on this one. I would not, but everybody's acting like it's not outside the realm of possibility that this is going to be a flip. Scared because of it.
I will say if she gets within 5, it's a 5-alarm fire for them. And if she wins, the panic is going to be really, because if you can't directly translate a 20-point margin in this kind of special election because of the different demographics of the two coalitions and because of the weird election date. But let's say you pare it down by 50%. A D+10 environment wipes out a lot of people. That turns most of the districts in my state blue, for example. And it also happens to nicely match up with 3 different states, statewide elections that we've gotten, 3 different relatively swingy. New Jersey's not really swingy, but 3 different states that plausibly could map nationally for 2026. And if you get then this extra evidence on top of it from a deep red state, oh man.
And in addition to its significance as harbinger of things to come, seat is substantially important. This is a very thin margin in the House, and anything that takes one more Republican off the table makes life harder for Mike Johnson,
who is already quite bad at this.
Right. So
I don't know what y'all mean. This is fine. We're doing work here.
Should we wrap it up there this week, lads?
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think I've got.
I just saw something that is making my brain hurt, and I don't want to talk about it.
We don't want to talk about it either. So for Normal Man in Charlotte, I'm George.
In DC, I'm Proctor.
In outer Florida, I'm Low-Tech Speedrun Enjoyer.
And in Boston, I'm Ed.
Stay normal, y'all.